Why you feel like you have no purpose and how to find your way back to meaning. In 1946, a psychiatrist named Viktor Frankl walked out of a Nazi concentration camp. He had lost everything: his wife, his family, his manuscript, his freedom. And yet he survived. And not just physically, he survived with his spirit intact. When researchers later studied the survival of the camps, trying to understand what separated those who made it from those who didn't, they found something unexpected. It wasn't physical strength, it wasn't age, it wasn't even luck. It was meaning. And the ones who survived were the ones who had a reason to, a person to return to, a work to complete, a contribution still unmade. Frankl went on to write one of the most important books of the 20th century, Man's Search for Meaning, in which he said something that has stayed with me for years. He said those who've had a why to live can bear almost any how. I think about that a lot because I see so many people right now, not in concentration camps and not in war zones, but in perfectly comfortable, ordinary lives who have lost their why. And without it, even comfortable feels empty. So by the end of this video, you are going to understand why the loss of purpose feels so devastating and how to find your way back to meaning, even when everything feels flat and you don't know where to start. So stay with me. The crisis nobody is naming. There is a specific kind of pain that is very hard to explain to somebody who hasn't felt it. Now, it's not depression exactly, though it can look like that. And it's not grief exactly, though there's loss in it. But it's a slow creeping sense that what you're doing doesn't really matter. That the days are passing and you're not quite sure what they're for. That you're not contributing anything meaningful. That something along the way, the thread of why you're here, gets lost. I see this in young people constantly right now. It's so sad. A generation with more information, more opportunities, more opinions than any before them, and reportedly historically have low levels of meaning and purpose. Because opinions, well, without direction can feel paralyzing rather than liberating. When everything is possible and nothing feels essential, you end up doing a lot while feeling very little. And I see it in older people too, in people who are retired, who have spent decades being needed by a career, by children, by a role that gave them structure and significance. And then one day the structure falls apart and they're left asking, who am I now? What gets me out of bed every morning when nobody needs me to show up anymore? What am I actually for? I've felt that myself, and at 65, I'm building something new without the certainty of income, without the external validation of a title or a role. These are days when the question of purpose feels very close and very real. So I wanted to talk to you about this honestly because I think this is one of the least discussed and most widespread forms of suffering happening right now. And it doesn't have to be permanent. Now, why is this happening? Why is this loss of purpose so widespread right now? Well, a few things are happening at once. The structure that used to provide meaning automatically, like religion, community, extended family, lifelong careers, have largely dissolved or have changed beyond recognition. For previous generations, meaning was often pre-packaged. You belonged to a church, a community, a trade, a family structure that told you who you were and what you were for. Now, those containers are gone for most people now, which means we have to find meaning ourselves. And most of us were never taught how. We were taught how to be productive, how to achieve, how to perform. Nobody taught us how to ask what actually matters to me and why am I here and what would make my existence feel worthwhile. And then there is the comparison trap that social media has created. We scroll through other people's apparently meaningful, beautiful, purposeful lives and feel the gap between that and our own daily reality more acutely than ever before, which creates a very specific kind of emptiness, not just the absence of meaning, the constant reminder of its absence. What purpose actually is. Well, here's something I want to offer you that might shift things. Purpose is not a destination. It's not a job title. It's not a grand mission statement. It's not something you discover once and then have forever. Purpose is a feeling. It's a feeling of being useful in a way that is specific to you, of contributing something that would be slightly different, slightly lesser if you weren't the one contributing it. And being engaged with something that calls on the best and what you have to offer. And here's what I know after 25 years of doing this work. Purpose is almost always connected to what you've been through, the very wounds that shape you, the experiences that felt like curses often contain the gifts you're here to offer. The woman who spent her life being told she was too sensitive and discovered she could feel what others couldn't, and becoming somebody who guides people home to themselves. This is not a coincidence. This is purpose emerging from wound. The retired teacher who no longer has a classroom, but lights up when she is explaining something and watching understanding dawn within a person's eyes. The gift is not over. It's just waiting for a new container. A young person who feels like they don't fit in anywhere, who thinks too deeply, questioning everything, feels too much for the world around them. This is not a problem. This is somebody whose purpose hasn't found its form yet. Your wound and your gifts are almost always the same thing, just seen from a different angle, a different perspective. The soul work underneath. I want you to go a little deeper here because I think the loss of purpose at its root is often a spiritual crisis, not a religious one, but spiritual in the sense of who am I at my core? And what is the deepest truth of my existence? What was it I was actually made of and made for? These are not questions you can think your way through. They require going inward. They require the kind of stillness that most of us actively avoid, because when we get still enough, we feel the emptiness, and that feels unbearable. But here's what I've learned. That emptiness is not the enemy. The emptiness is an invitation. It's a space that opens up when all the noise and busyness and performance falls away and something underneath gets a chance to speak. In my work through the love intelligence method, this is some of the deepest and most profound work I do with people. not finding them a purpose from the outside, but creating the conditions, the safetiness, the presence, the deep intuitive guidance for them to hear what has been trying to speak inside of them all along. Because your soul knows what you're here for. It has always known. It's just been very hard to hear over all the noise. Now, here are some practical ways to find your way back. When you feel purposeless and flat and don't know where to start, here are 5 things that actually work. 1. Follow the aliveness, not the passion. Stop looking for the passion. Passion is a big word that puts emotional pressure on every small decision. Instead, follow aliveness. What produces even a small flicker of feeling more alive, more present, more engaged? A conversation, a creative act, a moment in nature, a problem you enjoy solving. Now, that flicker is information. Number 2, look at what you do for free. What do you give away without thinking about it? What do people come to you for? Not because you're paid for it, but because you're naturally good at it. This is usually where your gifts lie. 3, ask what breaks my heart. What injustice, what suffering, what gap in the world makes me feel something? Purpose often lives at the intersection of your gifts and the thing that breaks your heart. And number 4, contribute something small right now. Now, don't wait until you have it all figured out. Contribution at any scale creates meaning. Call somebody who is lonely. Help one person with something you know how to do. Make something with your hands. Tend something that needs tending. Meaning is not waiting at the end of a grand plan. It's available in the next 10 minutes if you're willing to look for it. And number 5, give yourself permission to not know and stay curious. The pressure to have your purpose figured out is in itself part of the problem. What if you didn't have to know yet? What if you could just stay curious? Follow what interests you. Say yes to what feels alive. Pay attention to what keeps showing up. And trust that the thread will become clear as you follow it. Purpose rarely announces itself. It reveals itself slowly, quietly to the person who is paying attention. Viktor Frankl survived the unsurvivable. Not because his circumstances were better than everyone else's, but because he never lost his way. And here's what I want to say to you. Your why is not gone. It may be buried under years of busyness, under roles that consumed you, under grief, under the noise of the world that never slows down long enough for you to hear yourself think. But it is there. Your soul has not forgotten what you're here for, even when your mind has. And the real work is creating enough stillness, enough safety, enough honesty, inner exploration to hear it again. That is the soul's work. And it is what becomes possible through the love intelligence method. Not me telling you what your purpose is, but going deep enough together that you remember it yourself. Now, if this space feels like a breath of fresh air to you, I'd love for you to subscribe and stay for a while. Let's walk this path together. Please leave a comment. Tell me how you've lost your sense of purpose. Or have you found your way back to it? I genuinely want to know. and share this with somebody who is searching right now, young or old. They'll know why you sent it. And when you're ready to do this work, to really go looking for your why, reach out. Let's have a heart to heart, because you haven't missed your story. It's just about to begin. Love is the way back to self. And don't forget, love is your magic.